You cannot develop a country at the level of illiteracy we have in Sierra Leone. It's not possible.
We as Sierra Leoneans have a huge role to play, and sometimes, if not most times, we are the problem.
I think we should stop pointing fingers. We should look at ourselves and say, what can I do to make a difference?
Presidents, whether they receive the facts from the ministers or whoever they've appointed, they also have the ability to see the reality on ground.
When you're put in that position, whether as a civil servant, whether as a police officer, whether as a judge, whether as a teacher, whether as a lawyer, whether as a doctor, what did you do? What are you proud of you did? A government of a country is a reflection of the people of the country.
Welcome to Honestly Speaking, the podcast where we have honest conversations about the issues shaping our lives. I'm your host, Antonia Howard, and in today's episode, we're talking about values, civic responsibility, and national direction. At different moments in our history in Sierra Leone, we have shown extraordinary courage and strength, and at other times we have struggled with division, maybe a loss of moral clarity, and also stagnation. Not because we lack the ability or the potential to be great, but possibly because we have avoided difficult truths. So today's conversation starts from a simple but powerful truth. Every Sierra Leonean has a responsibility in shaping the country we live in. And my guest today is a Sierra Leonean whose life and work span home and the world. From national service to global leadership, she has spent decades working on peace, reconciliation, accountability, women's dignity, and human rights. I am absolutely honored to welcome Ms. Zainab Bangura, Director General of the United Nations Office at Nairobi. Welcome to Honestly Speaking.
Thank you.
When you look back at your journey from girlhood in Yonibana to where you are now, serving in the United Nations, what experiences shaped you and shaped your values that helped you travel the world in the work that you've been doing?
It's very interesting. My first mentor was my mom. And she made me believe that anything is possible. That education was the golden key. That if I have an education, or if I had an education, I can be anybody. So she encouraged me to dream. And as I sit back and think about it, she fought and did everything she could for me to have basic education. When I started at Honeywash School, and when I left and went to university, I then realized there's a difference between basic education and quality education. My mother, being an illiterate woman, could only imagine basic education. But then, having been through basic education, I realized there was a gap in my schooling. And up to today, I can feel it. I went to the annual school. Almost all the children who were in class with me, their parents were educated. I saw the gap it created. My parents were illiterate.
What kind of gaps were you experiencing? And you say
you can be
feel that
smart.
today.
You think, you think in Creole, you think in Timni. You have to transform it into English. The way you express yourself and the way you analyze things, your culture, your background shapes you. This is why a lot of Sierra Leoneans don't think very high, because the limitation within our country. And so I enrolled my son in elementary school when he was 3 months old.
3 months.
3 months old. I was so desperate to give him what my mother could not give me, but also to build on what my mother, the foundation she laid. So I made sure I gave my son an education that was far better than what I had. And I can say to you today, my grandchildren are even better than my son. But that's one thing. The second thing is believing in yourself and not allowing other people to shape your values, your principle. You have to have basic values and principle. You know, my mother taught me discipline, self-satisfaction. We were poor, but she taught us not to ask other people, but to be content with what I have. Because she told me this poverty is temporal. If you get the education and be what you can be, it's history. So those things resonated with me throughout my life. And so I believed in myself. I fought for what I wanted, and fight. I always say to young girls I mentor, throughout my life, I don't look at people. I set my own bar. When I find myself in any position, I set my bar, say this is what I want to achieve. Then I saw the world as a classroom. You learn from the day you are born until the day you die. Nobody gets old to learn. And I said recently to a group of diplomats, I'm sorry, but this is my opinion. I said to them, when I started traveling, I realized if I have to succeed, I cannot think, behave, and act like an African.
And what did you mean by that?
Look at the wall like a pyramid. At the bottom, there are too many people struggling. Once you start climbing, the shape become narrower, but you have few people there. There is more space to maneuver. And I questioned myself, why is it that the Asian tiger, let's go back to the Second World War. Europe was destroyed. America had to come to the aid of Europe, feeding Europe, providing military for Europe. But within 20 years, that support Europe took off. They relinquished the help. We've had independence over 60 years. We still depend on aid. Look at the Asian tigers. You should ask yourself, why did the Asian country, Singapore, was like us, at the same level? Look at where we are today. Singapore is one of the biggest economy in the world. Malaysia took peanuts. You call it palm oil. They took the seeds from here. I can tell you the Malaysian ambassador, when I was foreign minister, told me, the Malaysian ambassador in Kenya told me, and recently the Malaysian prime minister was in Kenya. We had dinner with him and the president. Why is it that Malaysia took the palm kernel from Sierra Leone? Today, they are the biggest producer of palm kernel in the world. We can't even ship palm.
So what do you think then is holding us back? What do you think is holding Africa back from achieving what these Asian countries are achieving? And I know from your experience in the UN, you are privy to some of the geopolitical dynamics.
I don't think it's about geopolitics.
But then you would speak to what are our own unique or not so unique challenges.
Sierra Leoneans might hate me if I say this.
This is the best platform to speak.
Well, I can
honestly.
tell you we're mentally and physically lazy. We don't think beyond Sierra Leone. They have this thing to tell you, and I saw you meet you left unaya. No. When they say when a child is born, they learn to sit, they crawl, they stand up, they walk. first and foremost, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of Sierra Leone do we want? The BBC. We had SLBS before the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
We had the first girl boys school in Black Africa, grammar school. We had the first girls school in Black Africa. We had the first university in Black Africa, Fulbe College. Do you compare those institutions with institutions that later came? So you ask yourself why? We don't grow. We're very self-content. We're complacent. We're satisfied with what we have. You know, I always tell people you have to have fire in your stomach to be able to achieve utmost. You cannot be self-content. You understand? And this is what life is. It doesn't matter where you find yourself. They say if you're a cleaner, clean the street so that whoever walks along the street can know that there is a cleaner here. Everybody has a responsibility wherever you're doing anything. You know, so we have to rethink. And I think being where we are as a country, it's not one single person's responsibility. It's all of us as a nation.
Absolutely.
It's all of us. Each one of us, people point fingers. They say in my culture, when you point one finger, this rest comes towards you. So that's why we should stop accusing people and ask ourselves, what did I do to contribute? And I tell you, we have to have a values system.
And that's what I wanted to ask you now. What values do you think we've lost over time that may have contributed to the Sierra Leone we see today? No one would sit down and say everything is perfect and we're going on fine in Sierra Leone. There are very many different issues that we need to tackle, and some of them are basic needs. Some of them are things we really shouldn't be having a conversation about. We will get to break down those things, but just generally speaking, what are the values we've lost over time that you think
the values of integrity, the value of honesty, the value of knowing that this country belongs to all of us. One of the things I get very difficult about is people saying, oh, now governments don't spoil this. No, I disagree. In whatever way, whatever place we find, the government is elected by us. We chose the government. And I can tell you, I told people, I always remain to be very grateful to President Nkrumah because he gave me the opportunity to serve as foreign minister. But I tell you, when Ban Ki-moon came here, when I was foreign minister, he met President Nkrumah. And President Mao spoke to him. He said, I've never met a president who is so direct and knows what he's doing. By the time I finished foreign minister, I didn't recognize him. I couldn't. The man who appointed me, I didn't recognize him. And there was a time I had to say to him, because, everybody was saying, oh, Zainab, no, they respect you. Zainab doesn't respect you. Tell her to do things. I said to him, I said, you cannot tell me to do something that is against my principle and value, and I do it. I said, you can take the job. So it's not the leader. Leaders make decisions based on the information available to them. I can say the same thing about President Bio. I've had an opportunity to talk to him on a few occasions. And I listen to him, we converse. He knows exactly what is wrong. He knows what has to be done. But then you ask yourself, both of them, why is it things? Because, the president manages people. And the people themselves have to be able to do the right thing. And action needs to be taken. I was looking at Twitter someday here, and somebody said, I read something. In Japan, when you steal corruption, when you are charged of corruption, you commit suicide. is such an embarrassment to the family. You commit suicide. In China, when you're caught in corruption, you're executed. It's a capital offense. In Europe and America, if you're caught, you go to jail. In Sierra Leone, you're celebrated. Oh, this you don't try. I was in government with people. Within 5 years, they've built 3-4 houses. I asked myself, where did they get the money? I spent 13 years building my house with 5 loans from the UN. 2 I took when I was in New York, and 3 I took when I'm in Nairobi. I'm still completing my house, not alone about my own money I put. We should be ashamed of our country. Then it inspires us to do more. Wherever you find out yourself, do it. The teacher who spies for the children, who gives them wrong mark, who cheats for them, the doctor who refused to treat the patient because the patient hadn't paid, but the doctor had an oath of office he took. It's across the board. The lawyers who goes to court to lie, the judge who gives wrong to right. Are they done by the president? No. Each one of us, where we find ourselves, you know what you can do, what you cannot do. And I tell you, in the position in which I am, when I wake up in the morning, the clothes I wear, I'm 24 hours recognized that I'm a representative of the Secretary General. Everything I say, I think about how will it impact him. How will it impact my country, you, my son, my president? Because I'm no longer myself. I'm a symbol, a UN senior officer. I'm a Sierra Leonean who the country of Sierra Leone is proud of. I'm a family member who my grandchildren look up to and my son. So I'm no longer the Zainab Bangura who can wake up and say anything or just dress anyway. Because with social media now, people can snap you. So the value system, the family, when I was growing up in Yoni, when I arrived, and I did this last Christmas, my mother puts my bag and she says, go and greet everybody. Respect for each other. There are things you cannot say in public, not because you don't know how to say them, because the family values doesn't allow you to say them. The respect for each other, the respect for the country. You're a Sierra Leonean, you pride, you carry yourself.
I like to look at maybe things that may have contributed to, where we are now in Sierra Leone. On the podcast, I've talked about the trauma of war and how we recovered or did not recover from that, and perhaps how that affected our value system. What is your opinion on that? Do you think that contributed a lot to some of the things we've lost when we talk about our mindset, our behavior, our values?
That is where leadership comes. Rwanda suffered more than us. Germany suffered more after Second World War than us. So we're not the first. Why is Rwanda in a far better position than us? They kill 1 million people within 1 month. It's just us. They kill 1 million people within a month, almost. They destroyed half their country. The support that came to Sierra Leone after the war, we will never get. I spoke earlier about complacency. In response to our seats, I don't want to go into more details, but I can tell you this issue of people expecting other people to do something for you. When I was minister, I remember people used to come to my office, they hang around, they don't have anything to do, and they come and they come for can drag. I said to them, you see me na Yoni Bana? From the bigger man to the paramount chief, na my responsibility. So I know they give you money. I can't. People don't believe in hard work. And I said, when people call me, I'm here in Nairobi, people call me, oh, Nami birthday, please send money. I look at you and I said, hold on. I work double shifts. Because of my position, I work with New York. I wake up in the morning at 4. 4 is the beginning of my day. My first alarm goes at 5. I take my coffee and I look at all emails that I've sent because then they are ready to go to bed. So I respond to those and I make phone calls. I start my Nairobi day. After 5, I go home. I have an office in my home where I work in the morning. After 5, I go back home, and that's the beginning of their day. So I have to engage with them. I work like that, 18 hours a day. And then you think I should send you $100 for your birthday? Why should I? For you to enjoy? So it means I'm working for you. I'm not related to you. You know, this culture of saying that people should give us things, mentality that people should, instead of you working hard. And we sat down until our educational system collapsed. You understand? To an extent where now the world is recruiting nurses and doctors. We can't. Because we look nurses as a fallback position. We compromise our values. We compromise everything in the sake of accommodation. Me, that's why I tell people. I was telling somebody I'm going to a wedding on the 4th, on the 3rd. I said to her, you know me, I don't late. I said, no. Like I said to you, I made up my mind that if I'm going to succeed in the world, I'm not going to be an African. You're always late. You don't say the truth. You're very diplomatic. I can tell you, you go to Beijing, you go to Paris, you go to London, you go to Bonn, you go to all the world capitals. One thing anybody would tell you when you call my name, this woman, she says this as it is. In all my job, I'm not.
And do you think we've lost that in Sierra Leone? People saying it as it is,
because people will have to protect their interests. You know, like I said, I told President Kurma, you can ask him, I said, you will not tell me to do something that is against my integrity. I'm sorry. You can take the job. I mean, I remember we were in his house, we were having a meeting with him in his office in the residence, and I was trying to say something, and somebody was stepping on my foot. I told him, I said, let for mass me foot, make a talk what I want to say. President Goma just laughed. He knew me, so he used to tell people, una left hand. We ready for do the right thing, good one. But we feel the only, and this is how we've destroyed our leaders. By not being honest to them, by pretending to them everything is all right. I remember when I was in New York, there was somebody who was, I can't remember, I can't call his name, was Minister of Finance. He went to an IMF meeting, and somebody explained to me that the IMF was very angry about how the economy was going and everything. And then when the person came, what he reported to President Kuma was different. He gave President Kuma the picture, everything was right. So somebody told me, so I went to the minister. I said, why? He said, oh, President Kuma doesn't like the truth. That's what the person said to me. The same thing with governments now. I was complaining to somebody. I said, you're supporting all these other countries. I said, what is this? I'm not hearing you talking, because we sit at this meeting. I can't comment in the meeting. We're talking about what they did here, what they did here, what they did. I said, but I didn't hear you call Sierra Leone. He said, well, the problem I have, the ministers are not honest to the president. They're not telling the president the exact picture. And I said to him, here we go again.
But is that true? I ask that given the fact that, presidents, whether they receive the facts from the ministers or whoever they've appointed, they also have the ability to see the reality on ground.
When I tell people, somebody was angry with me when I said I switched off from Sierra Leone. Somebody said, you shouldn't say that. I said, no. Because to find a Sierra Leonean, I'm very honest, to find a Sierra Leonean who is not biased, who looks at everything from a political perspective, is very difficult. When people send me posts, I delete people in my WhatsApp. I block them. Because if it's an APC policy, nothing that the SFP does is good. If there's a person, nothing that the APC does is good. And you know, I have been in a position, I tell you, the top is very lonely. I have been in a position and have been very close to power. And when I used to travel with President Koroma, who sits on the plane, and I see this colleague minister sitting, talking, that's how I developed diabetes. I was so shocked, I was so angry, I was so frustrated. The length to which they lie is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So I don't criticize these people because my mom used to say, for you to criticize somebody, you must be in their shoes. That's why I'm very cautious in talking about government to say this person doesn't say no. Because I'm not in their shoes. I don't know how the shoes is paining them. But I have to tell you, it's not an easy job. That's why I told people, you give it to me for nothing. I don't want it. Because in developed countries and a lot of in Asian countries, you put the offices, you put the skills you want in the offices, you put what needs to be done for this office to achieve, then you put the names of people, you cross-match them. So you monitor because you know what they're supposed to do. Here is the person who supported you because you have obligation. You have commitments you've made during campaigning. People who have supported you because they want certain position. So me, I don't criticize governments. But when people say I'm successful because I managed to put a team together that delivers. The UN, we have performance evaluation. You evaluate people. We have TOR, terms of reference. For offices, you have mandates. Ask ministers here whether they know what their terms of reference are for their ministry. So it's a lot of challenges, and you become hostage to the system. You become hostage to the political machinery. You become hostage to godfathers, to business people who put money. Because our people, they want you to feed them. So you have to take money to business people to campaign. And there's no free breakfast. So it's a lot complicated than easy. So that's why I can't sit here and say, oh, the government is not doing anything. Because I have been an insider. I know the journey you walk to get to that position. And when you get there, how your hands are tied.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm not going to talk about it. Sorry, I'm not a professor.
About your decision is you're not interested in presidency.
No, why?
There was a time when you ran for presidency in Sierra Leone.
I thought it was a possibility.
You ran for presidency, but I wonder, in terms of women's political participation, when you look at what's happening in Sierra Leone now and how we are addressing the issue of women's rights and women's political participation, do you see progress, or has there been a decline in how we approach this issue?
I think it's more complicated than that. Because you need to have the legal framework.
Which we do. We have some
but
legal
they are structurers problem. You know, you go to my village in Yoni, they would tell you that woman not get power for be prime and chief. But I can tell you that the respect I have in Yonibana, whether from my MP, whether from my traditional leader, whether from the village, is unparalleled. They respect because they've seen me grow. But also the economic. Politics is about money. It's about money. Where can women find the money?
So at the time, what structures supported you to do that?
Oh, that's why I said, because I realized one of the biggest hindrances was finding the money. Who is going to support the business people? Are you going to take the money from overseas? And because the people, all they want is to feed them, to cook for them, to supply them logistics, to do this, do that. You know, so at the end of the day, it almost leaves you bankrupt. And people can tell you they support you, but they don't bring anything. So it's very difficult for us to expose women to that. And women don't have, men have men's network. They have network that we don't have. You know,
What do you mean? They have.
they're business people. Who are the biggest business people in this country? They are men. So men have network that women do not have. You know, you have to build that network and relationship for a long time to be able to give them the confidence to put you in offices. And also, the party structures doesn't support us. The people who run the party are all men. I remember when I ran for APC, they did a survey. They did a survey, and the APC party put it. The president instituted, and the survey said the best person that can be able to win for the APC would be Zainab Bangura. The men said over their dead body. It's not possible because we can't control her. So for them, it's control. So if they see a woman who is very strong and they think they can't control the woman, they're not going to put her. They don't have the interest of the country at heart. They're not interested. So, you know, so that's where we begin. Look at the party structure at the community, the way the parties are shaped. All the top executive are men. They have the women's leader who is there supposed to mobilize the women and cook for them. That's one position I think they should abolish. The youth leader. Today, Africa, we have the youngest population. Even us in the UN, we've not only mainstream gender, but it's cross-cutting issue. Not only gender parity. If I have an appointment, I have to appoint somebody now in the UN. If I'm not appointing a woman, I have to give justification why. They will not approve me sending 3 names for suggestion for appointment if a woman is not included. They send it back. The same thing with young people. The Secretary General has appointed a special envoy for youth. So youth is mainstream, it's a cross-cutting. It's streamlined, it's a cross-cutting issue. So the policy is not to say, oh, women have 2/3 majority, but what do you do 2/3 majority when the parties do not put women? So we react to international pressure. We put in place frameworks because we wanted to fulfill some international commitments. But we don't institutionalize it in our systems. And then it dies down. Every law that is passed in the country, how do we look at it with a gender lens? Do we look at our budgets? Do we scrutinize our budgets with a gender lens to see how does it affect the scholarships that are given to go overseas? Do we scrutinize them to see how many women have been given scholarship? Do we scrutinize the result of MPSA, Bekewas, how many girls took the result, how many passed, you know, how many were able? So it's a more detail. That's why I said you mainstream. Gender is a cross-cutting issue and it has to be mainstream. So it's very difficult and challenging, but it can be done. Have we done it all? I'm not too sure. So what does the gender ministry do? This is what people think of gender. And you know, we have what we call pecking order. When Mrs. Salif became president, the Ministry of Gender was combined with the Ministry of Development. Because the Ministry of Justice, we have what we call pecking order in government. It's about seniority. If you look at Sierra Leone, the pecking order might be Minister of Gender will be like second bottom, last. And that's how you allocate budgets.
I was about to say that also informs how the budget is distributed.
Of course, it's distributed.
Yeah.
So you mainstream the role of the gender minister is not to have programs. It's to make sure water policy looks at how it affects women, health, education, agriculture. So it's having specialists in the gender ministry to work with these ministries and making sure none of those policy goes into parliament without a gender lens. You know, I participated in the negotiations with FARC, the Colombian armed group, and the Colombian governments. You know, it was done in Havana. And one of the things we succeeded was having a gender commission. So when the peace process was being negotiated, every chapter of the process, once it's agreed, is taken to the Gender Commission to look at it with a gender lens, to make sure gender is mainstream. It's one of the best peace processes. I was asked to go there because the rebel and especially the rebel didn't want to deal with the UN. So I went there, sat with them. And I had to get those women to think not as FARC or as government, but as women. So do we get our women parliamentarians in parliament to think as women instead of SLPP women or APC women? So that when a bill goes to parliament, the gender ministry can work with them to look at the bill with a gender lens. Every budget that is discussed, to look at it. That's what you do.
One of the issues we've struggled with for the longest time, as you mentioned, international treaties and policies, made me think about the conversation around female genital cutting and where we are with that issue in Sierra Leone and the role of the gender ministry on that. I know you've said you haven't necessarily been following what's happening in Sierra Leone politically or in governance, but this is also a global issue. And I wonder for you, having worked at the UN and, experienced the conversation on a global level, where African countries like Sierra Leone sit with that, because it's not unique to us. This is a global problem, but some African countries have made progress in terms of having legal restrictions, whether it's age or banning
we have made
cutting
progress.
totally. But where do you see
we
us
have
in
made
that
progress.
conversation?
Listen, my grandchildren, I went through it. My grandchildren will not go through it. All my nieces will not do it. My daughter will not go. So we've made progress. One way or the other, people use this as a political issue. That's the challenge. Because politics is about solving our day-to-day life. Politics is about ideas, how the country moves forward. But we've turned politics into either a tribal issue, a religious issue, and then we bring, what does FGM has to do with politics? No. FGM has nothing to do with politics. But people turn it into a political issue. So it's a debate me I'm not interested in, to be honest with you. But I can tell you, we've gone progress. I was born in Yoni. My aunts, I have 3, 4 aunts who are Soways. These days, we don't worry with our children. I don't know when last I went to Yoni when I saw a Bondo bush. No. So it's one of those things that slowly is going away, but people who want political power still holding on to it. But secondly, also, the women who are doing it is an economic thing. So it's a debate. I don't think it's worth it.
Conversation then. How soon will we get to a point where Sierra Leone says, this is the end for us, we're no longer accepting this? Because
my dear,
every single year,
listen to me.
We listen to the reports.
What is important in Sierra Leone? How can we educate our children? We have, the level of education is too low. We have to improve it. How do we provide better health care? It's a priority. FGM is not a priority. I have to be honest with you. It's not a priority. Why are we wasting time on it? Because you only have 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day. You discuss the things that make a difference in people's life. If people don't want to put their children in FGM, give them food to eat. That's what it is. Clean up your city. But we shouldn't waste time, airtime, resources fighting for or against FGM. We should spend time on reducing poverty. Trust me, when people are educated, they're not going to send their children there.
Absolutely, which is the conversation we're having now in this country, because girls are being taken out of school, girls are dying, losing their lives.
Because their parents are illiterate.
Complications.
Because their parents are illiterate.
And also you talked about having legal backing, but not just the legal backing, but also the structure to support the laws to be enforced. First of all, there's no law banning this practice.
Do we need it? I think we should focus on the SDG. the Sustainable Development Goal, produce water for people, produce basic health care, reduce poverty, deal with climate change. These are the things that are a priority. FGM, put it on the burner. Let me tell you something. When a woman is educated, she can't waste her time on her children to go through FGM. But for them, it's a cultural life. That's at the village. So we should, at this time in our life, we should choose our priorities skillfully. We have to prioritize. We're in the bottom of the ladder. We cannot talk about 20 things.
So for you, what remains the priority in order to move Sierra Leone forward? You've compared Sierra Leone to countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Rwanda, similar experiences. And Rwanda, for example, which is on the same continent, they even had, as you've put it, an even worse experience than we had when it comes to our history with war and conflict. What should be the priority for Sierra Leone now if we are to move from where we are, if we are to
The first priority is education. You cannot develop a country at the level of illiteracy we have in Sierra Leone. It's not possible. Because you can't even talk to them. They don't understand what you are saying. They don't understand. How can you bring them along if you're somebody who is really... How many people listen to your podcast? How many people? It's a small number. So education is, and when I say education, I mean quality education, not basic education. It has proven that when somebody goes to school and drop out at elementary school, after 5 or 6 years, they're illiterate. They can barely read that. They don't read. How many people read newspapers? How many people read new books? It's basic education. Secondly, is agriculture. 70% of Sierra Leoneans are in agriculture. Ask yourself, how many extension workers do we have? I went to the village the other day, not this time, and I said to those people, how many people goes to a country, community, and tell them, this is what you need to grow here? The extension worker. Agriculture is a whole machinery. Health. Because you know what I'm talking about agriculture? If you invest in agriculture, I'm not talking to invest, go buy a tractor, begin pass up and down with a more. But if you really invest in real agriculture and people participate, but the people also have a problem. This is why I'm telling you education. Because when these people invest in agriculture, they produce, they sell, they have an income. You improve their lives, then they can pay for certain things. But it goes back to our attitude. I remember when I was in the village in Yoni, long years I was in high school, GTZ brought a program on seedlings, giving it to people. You give 1 bushel peanuts, they grow it, they come out with 4 bushel. You give the 1 back to the seed bank so they can give it to another person. The 3 bag is yours. So you grow the 1 bag, you sell the 2. So you have income with 2 bags. So when you grow that 1 bag, you now produce 4 bags, 4 bushel. They are yours. You can sell the 2, you plant the 2. That is on the 3rd year. When you plant that 2, when you harvest it, it comes to 8.
Is that true?
Yeah, it comes to 8 bushel. That's how your income grows. You know what the people do in my village? Then patcher, then seller. So they kill the program. This is why education comes. So, because people want quick money. That's why you need to educate them the benefits of that seed bank. I went into agriculture. I got 15,000 seedlings, cashew nuts. I planted 5,000, they burnt it. You go to the village now today, you ask people to come and work in your farm. They come at 11, they eat at 1, at 3 they are gone. So we have a problem. 7 months of rainfall, we can't feed ourselves. We still import rice. What's wrong with us? China with 1.2 billion or 4 billion can feed themselves. India with 1.3 billion, they can feed their people. They export. So what is our problem? With 7 months of rainfall. This is what I'm saying. These are the areas. It's not the internet agriculture. It's the real agriculture. Then it's health. It's health, basic health care. I was Minister of Health. You know, how do we still die with cholera? How does typhoid still kill us? We don't invest. I was in Minister of Health. For the 3 years I was there, we never imported medicine. We only import the free healthcare drugs. Health is very complex. Health is complex because you have to think about the infrastructure, the hospital. There are different levels of hospital, from primary health care to the specialized hospital. You have to think the human resource. The last time I was Minister of Health, there are 11,000 specialization in health. How many do we have? If you look at hospital now in a district, you need about 8 specialists. The dentist, the surgeon, the gynecologist, the ENT, all 8. How many do you have per district? 2. The medical officer
That's if
and
we're
the
lucky.
medical superintendent. So this is why I'm saying we go back to the basics. When you develop that health service, people have access. But that's why education, before you put anything, the people have to understand what you're giving them is the right thing. They have to be able to appreciate it. Because if I go today in Yonibana, I go and build a tertiary hospital, people will not even appreciate it because they don't understand what it means. So that's why I said education is important. We really have to focus on it. And then agriculture, because agriculture puts money in the hand of the ordinary man. And once people start seeing that agriculture is paying, it makes a difference in the life of the villager. All those people, they fruit all the tap them pan body, they will now go, they have farms, they have company, we go there. Then health. So these are issues that as a nation we have to agree.
I mean, this administration has said its focus is on education. So the free quality education program exists. And there is also the Feed Salon program, which focuses on agriculture. Now, how efficient all of these have been so far is another debate entirely. But what I want to ask you is, sometimes I think throughout this conversation, one of the themes that you focused on is we as Sierra Leoneans have a huge role to play. And sometimes, if not most times, we are the problem. So when we look at our leaders, when we look at leadership, when we look at politics and politicians, we often request from leaders things that we can do ourselves, or things that we need to even work on for ourselves. So in your view, how is that responsibility shared in terms of moving Sierra Leone forward?
You know, the government has decided he wants free healthcare. How many principals are genuinely given the right number of students in their schools? How many principals are genuinely given the right number of teachers in their school? How many universities are cheating for people to pass exams? So we're talking, the government, yes, they have a responsibility. Where you have the governments, they're putting the numbers that we have 30,000 teachers, when in actual fact they have 10,000 teachers. But the government pays 30,000 salary. So you ask yourself, you think the president sits in his chair to go and count those 30,000 chair? Everybody, Minister of Education, the supervisor, everybody has a responsibility. So that's why I say it's all our responsibility. The government can put the policy because they think this is the policy that is good, but it's the implementation, those who are implementing it. And are we taking action on those? So, do we even know the right number of teachers we have in the school? Do you know the right number of students we have? Government pays for uniform. The teachers, the schools, I know, I have evidence. People have spoken to me that they keep it stock until it expires. The government supply books. You find them in the street, people are selling them. What has gone wrong? So, as I said, we are lazy, physically and mentally lazy. We think we need to be spoon-fed. They give it to us, we sit in our houses, we put it. No. Every one of us have a responsibility. Me, as I live here, I say to people, what have you done to make a difference? What have you done to make a difference? You don't look to the other person. You sit in your little corner. You do what you need to do. You understand? You obey the laws. Laws are meant to be obeyed. If they are not obeyed, the police should take action against those who punish. Are they doing it? If the police arrest these people, they take them. They take them to the court. They say there was a time, not now. There was a time people used to say, you better pay the judge than I make the crime. Because they go to court, they know that they won't have justice. So it's all over. I think we should stop pointing fingers. We should look at ourselves and say, what can I do to make a difference? Young people, 70%, I'm sure, of the population in Sierra Leone is your age group. How are you thinking? What are you doing? You are the one who are most going to be affected. We are on our way out. So if you people don't start and you focus on talking, saying the right thing that needs to be said, engaging, don't think you on your own can do. No man is an island. I have been in government and I got frustrated, I left. Because the Minister of Energy is putting a policy. I'm the Minister of Health. He doesn't come to me to find out what does the help. You can't put energy policy because I need solar another hospital there. But you don't consult me. You know, the Minister of Education gets an educational policy. He doesn't come to me to help because I have to produce nurses. I have to produce doctors. But he doesn't come to me to ask me, how can I produce more teachers? What do I need to do?
How do we collaborate to make the policy?
The Minister of Finance doesn't care what my budget is. And we sit in all these ministries. We spend more money on recurrent expenditure than development. When you look at the Sierra Leone budget, look at how much is in development. Look at how much is in. You know, when I was Minister of Finance, Minister of Health, the first budget I came, I said to people, and when they gave me the recurrent budget, and I said, what is this? Now that's in the old man, they buy fridge. Even in my ministry, the different departments, they have different price for the stationaries. It's a lot. So, I know they blame person waiting apart because they say that shoes, they were not at the person in shoes. People can criticize. Yes, and when you talk about the government, people have to understand government is not just the president. Government is the ministers. And president, their hands are tied down to appoint people. Either people have supported them, people from their ethnic group. Any government who can, if you have, let's assume SFP government. I mean, we work for, I say, Luzana, we don't betray APC. I'm not APC or SFP. I'm a Sierra Leonean. So whoever becomes president that needs my advice, I will give it. But very few people can do it. You can't appoint somebody from the other side. They say you don't betray your party. So the government is also the ministers.
How do we change that type of politics?
Do you help me? They go back. I take God big you. That's the least of my problem. You have to answer that. It's your generation. You have to answer that.
I mean, it's a big conversation. And myself, I can wonder, how do we get out of
Let's
where
talk
we are?
about it.
How do we?
We have to start talking about it. We have to name and shame. Like I said to you, in Japan, if you're caught corruption, you commit suicide. In China, you're executed. In Europe and America, you're jailed. In Sierra Leone, they celebrate you. So let's start taking the culture. I was a government minister. I told you, it took me 13 years to build my house. 5 UN loan, 2 in New York and 3 in Nairobi. But I have people who I was minister with. By the time I finished my 5 years, they had built 3 houses. Let's start telling people the truth. Who's how you pull this money? But our people celebrate you. If you be in a position of authority and they know you making money, they say this man is not serious. You understand? And you think that you should go to your village. Nobody no go tell me I build water well Nayoni. Nobody no tell me I build party office Nayoni. I was in government for 5 years. I told them, where do you want me to get the money from? I don't get her. People come with their list for me to build their moxes. Who's how they pull her? People come to, we have to build schools. Who's are the puller? People transfer the responsibility of the state to individuals. And these individuals now have to still to fulfill this obligation. They are not honest enough to say, no, so major, counselor, how you make counselor for make road? How counselor go make una road? It's not possible. That's not the job of a counselor. Now, for students not counsel and argue for una, but the counselor has to make a road.
So why aren't we honest enough? If me na counselor, person don't come meet me, pay me picking school fee, this and that, or build school, make road, whatever. Why are we not honest enough?
Because he campaigned on that. He made those commitments. That's where we begin.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's the problem, because if you make promises, then you have to fulfill the
Then
promises.
election is coming now. So those people who are abusing, going around the country, shaving bag rares, we have to call them to order. This is not about politics. And we have to educate our people to understand. There's no free breakfast. Whosoever that man they go collect that money, the way they can buy restaurant. Tomorrow, the person where they get the money, they go for government contract. If they go for government contract, who's the contract now 2 billion, he would say it's 10 billion because he has to remove his 8 billion, which he gave you to campaign. So you see how the country is fleeced. So you people, you see your generation, we are out. We are going. So people should talk. You should get your media people. You should come together as a young generation. You should understand and say, no, you name and shame, you call to attention. But we have to educate our people.
You can still advise, because this is the role of our elders, the people we look up to, the people who are role models. What does active citizenship look like? When you look at...
Do we have civic education in our curriculum? Do we go to school and see whether we have civic education? Do we have a history of teaching our children where we came from? Look at our curriculum. Where did we come from? Are we still sitting down reflecting what caused the war? The war did not happen by accident. It happened because of bad governance, because of mismanagement of state resources, because of corruption. But we think say the war is history. We suffered a lot. Why is it that Rwanda's war was worse than us? Why are they in a better position than us today? Germany suffered more than anybody. Today is the biggest economy in Europe. It's not about size. If it's a size, Singapore should not be as powerful as it is. But Singapore is economy because they decided education is a priority.
Yeah.
And people should be put in the right place to do the right job. If they put you in a position you don't do the right job, they should kick you out. So there's a lot. I tell people, I don't give up.
And that's what I want to ask you. Do you still believe, or do you have hope that Sierra Leone can renew itself?
I only have one country. I'll fight until the day I die. I'll continue talking. Because, as I said the other day, I can retire to Ghana. I can retire to Kenya. I'll be able to stay there. It's not the same. It's not the same. Here I went to Yoniba and I sat with my people, my traditional leader. Everybody was happy to see me. So this is where we belong. And we have to fight for it. We have to believe that we can make a difference. So it's not about hope. It's that me committed and determined to contribute in my own way.
And when you
contribute in my own way.
When you look back at your journey, I mean, you're still youthful.
Oh, please, I'm 66 years old. My son keeps telling me I'm always shouting about my age because I want people to understand I'm 66 years old.
But when you look at your journey and through the work that you're doing now, even with the renewed hope that you have for Sierra Leone, what do you want to be remembered?
I don't want to say renewed hope. With determination.
With the determination. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
I played my part. Shakespeare said, the world, you have an entry. You have a stage. You have an exit. I came, I played my part. I contributed in my own little way. And that's what I said to my job in UN. I said, when that conference services, when the compound is in 2030, I'm most likely not going to be there. But I'll be in my village in Yonibana in Freetown and said to myself, I was there when that decision is made. That's what is important. That in my conscience, I did my best. And for me, throughout my life, wherever I find myself, I do it to the best of my ability. That's why I don't have regrets. I don't have regrets in any job I have held because at that time, I did it to the best of my ability. You cannot compare me now to when I was foreign minister because I've changed. I've traveled more. I've achieved a lot of, I've built my capacity, I've gained more experience, more skill set. So I cannot go back and say, oh, I've been the minister of foreign, I've been don't know this. No. What I did at that time, I did to the best of my ability. When I was Minister of Health, I'm not afraid to ask. The world is a classroom. You learn from the day you are born until the day you die. So wherever I find myself, I surround myself with people who know more than I do. In areas that I'm weak, I collect people who are strong. People who tell in the Ministry of Health. I surround myself with one of the best brains. And whatever I achieve in the Ministry of Health, I didn't achieve it on my own. I achieved it because I listened to the professionals. It's the same thing as foreign affairs. It's the same thing I'm doing in my job. So you understand that nobody has a monopoly over knowledge. Nobody. So I look at a problem, I put it in the center of my relationship. And I bring people around me who have skill set that I don't have. And I work with them, I appreciate them and recognize. Then we solve the problem. Because it's not about Zainab Bangura, it's about the problem. And that's what I hope when I come back to Sierra Leone I can do, to be able to get people to understand no one person can solve the problem. So when people stop telling me about the government this person, that, no. Ask yourself, when you're put in that position, whether as a civil servant, whether as a police officer, whether as a judge, whether as a teacher, whether as a lawyer, whether as a doctor, what did you do? What are you proud of you did? That's what we should ask ourselves. That's what the debate is about. A government of a country is a reflection of the people of the country. It's a reflection of the people of the country. You know, I gave you the example when I was with President Nkrumah. When he met me in June to convince, the election was in October, I spoke to him, I said, this is a man who can change Sierra Leone. But by the time I served him 3 years, I didn't recognize him. You know, I've had discussion with President Bio. He's very articulate. He knows the problem. We discuss it. He has his frustrations, you know, but yet he say,
what happens? What happens? What happens?
I don't know. Don't ask me that.
No, because if you have the experience and you've spoken to leaders before, you've been in the room when decisions are being taken, you've seen the determination that presidents come into office with. What happens along the line?
We corrupt them. We destroy them. We surround them and give them false hope and tell them wrong information and tell them what great work they are doing. You know, they are human beings. They are human beings. You know, we think that you think this is when they're in position, they get 2 years like you. They get 1 nose, 2 more 2 years. But when you're busy telling man every day what a wonderful person he is, what a great job he's doing, he believes in it. He's lost in it. And the person is overwhelmed. Even me as my poor job as DG, you know, I don't get 5 hours sleep a day. You know, you're tired. People come to you, want to say, hey, what's happening? Oh, no, you don't solve answer. You don't answer. The problem, no day. He forgets, he moves on. He makes 20, 30, 40, 50 decisions a day. He gives you an assignment. You say, I don't do answer. My husband used to tell me, he said, the difference between the white man and us, the white man, when they tell him to build hospital, instead of 6 inches blocks, which he budgeted for, he put 4 inches block. You understand? He reduced the size of the land, but he would build an hospital. We, now the grass, they know they clean safe, then they carry money all go. If you not take, then they'll take the land go. The man has asked to build a hospital in Pujon, in Kono. You think he's going to go there to inspect the hospital? No. He tell you free healthcare, put drugs in hospital. He say, don't, sir. I don't send the drugs. You think he has time to go and look at the drugs? So, this is the problem. When you are not in that shoes, you don't understand. I have been there, and I have seen how President Nkrumah was misled. And some of those people, I leave you with two stories. We were going on China on official visit. The Chinese said to us, this particular minister has gone 3-4 times. We don't accept him. He cannot go on the strip. I went and told President Nkrumah. He agreed. He said, let me talk to him. I was leaving the day before. I went to his house. He called the man. The man came, he spoke to him. I came and he said, I've told him. He's not coming with us. I said, okay. I left. Next morning, I signed the trip, because the foreign minister, you signed. I sent it to the Chinese, said, this is our delegation to go official trip. I went. I had to go advance somewhere, and then I came to London to wait for them, so we take the flight to go to China. I was in London, somebody come. This man is on the ferry. I said, what is he doing? They said he sat there. The president looked at him, and the president said, where are you going? He said, I'm going with you to China. The president was so shocked he couldn't kick him out of the ferry. Me, I could kick him out of the ferry. You know what I mean? He embarrassed us because the Chinese made no provision for him. He harassed the young boys, take their rooms. That's one story. The second story, there was a man, one colleague minister, wherever the president goes, he goes. President Nkrumah has a dining room. I hope the president Bill kept it. These ministers, they leave their houses, they go with President Nkrumah and follow him to State House, leave him there and go to their ministries. When lunch comes, they come with him. They come and sit and take lunch with him. And then after lunch, they go. When the time for President Nkrumah to go home, they have, with the security they arrange, they leave their ministry, come to him, and they follow the motorcade and take him to his house. This didn't give him breathing space, so he cannot make any decision that they don't influence. We were going to Libya. So President Nkrumah said, I don't want to travel with this man. So we agreed. Nobody tells him we're going. We made all the arrangements. We sent the list to Libya and everything. The day, somebody tipped him, the day we were traveling, he came to State House. He said, And he said, where the president they go? And some stupid security said, he they go Libya. He took his bag. I didn't know that man travels with his passport. He took his bag and gave it to his security. I'm going. He had his passport. We were on the helicopter at Cockrell. He was phoning the Libyan ambassador. Hey, sorry, do you have and pants like this size that they wear? Buy shirts for me like this size. He refused not to go. President Nkrumah looked at him. He was so shocked. You could see his face. He was so angry. He didn't get the gut to tell him, I know they can. Me, I'll kick you. I'll fire you there and then. So these are the challenges you have with a leader. They have people who are like glues on them, who don't allow them breathe in space. And these people are very close to him. He can't say no to them. So, you don't sit down at that position. So that's why I'm telling you, I don't want them. Because I'm not the kind of person.
We don't accept the issue.
This kind of person, it's not possible. I'll fire you there and then. And I'll get the security to arrest you and kick you out. But they can't. They are close friends. They come a long way. These are people who fought with them in the difficult time. That they owe them obligation. So that position, we wear these shoes, you're not going to understand how they bond them.
Before I let you go.
This is a question we should all ask ourselves in our little corner. I wish to have a Sierra Leone. I wish to Sierra Leone where everybody can eat something on a day. Wake up in the morning, they can afford a meal. They can go to health care. Children can have quality education so that Peking at Pujon or that Peking at Kailaon can have the same education like here. Because one of the elections, I've been election observer for over 10 countries. About 3 or 4 of them I was chair. And one of them the first one was in Nigeria, Obasanjo's election, and the president of Botswana was the chair of our team, Commonwealth. I would sneak around with these people. If you take education, he said to me, and I tried to implement when I was Minister of Health, in areas when you want, for example, sciences, nobody goes to those villages in Kabbalah to cheat. But when you produce the science teachers, you build houses for them, you encourage them, you give them extra facility so they can go to these places. That's education policy. Because you want the girl in Kabbalah to understand what is physics, chemistry, to have the same opportunity in terms of maths with the one in Freetown. So that's the policy. You understand? When I was Minister of Health, I got the World Bank to fund to pay extra money to nurses and doctors to be deployed in faraway areas, so that you can build houses there. Now we have solar. If you want a doctor to go in behind Kabbalah, you should build him a house. You should give him a solar. He has a fridge. Even if he has a motorbike or a pickup. So you don't expect people out of their own will to go and teach in Kabbalah. A science teacher is in demand. So when you produce the science teachers, you deploy them. You give them incentive. Anybody who wants to save, a teacher, say, they save for 5 years, I can't build house, they will go to those areas because they have a house, they have a motorbike, they have a fridge, they have a solar. They're not using their money. So they will save. So it be incentive to people to save. They go for 5 years, they come back to the city. So you distribute the knowledge. Same thing with health. The same thing with extension workers. So these are the things that we hope can be done. It's not impossible. It's not rocket science. So that's why, as I said, that I'm not saying it's hope. I'm saying it can be done. That's what it can be done.
And what values should we prioritize now?
Oh, integrity. Integrity. People should be honest, people should be disciplined. The problem we have is the lack of discipline. It's a society where people do not respect the law. But when you talk about discipline, it means you have to also, the police, you have to also put that to so the rule of law, the judicial, the police. So people who commit crime, nobody is above the law. They can't be punished. But people need to know what is it. They talk to me, people not read that. People really talk about back and trial. So there are so many things we can do. But I think, as I said about education, it's also the rule of law. Discipline. Our country is a society where people lack discipline. People do whatever somebody they work at dinner Okada, eat a drink, he take the plastic throw and treat. How can you? You know what I'm trying to say? So we have to fight to make sure society, whether they are children in schools, adults, to restore respect for the law, to make people to be disciplined, to understand there are things you cannot do, and to take action against them when they do it. Nobody is above the law. So integrity, people to understand when I'm in this position, there are certain things I can't do. When I'm in my position in Nairobi, there are certain things I can't even think of doing because it's unheard. I can't take certain action without asking reference to the ethics office. They say, no, you can't do this. I said, thank you. That's why a lot of people who try to give me a award in free, I can't accept it because I have to ask the permission. So people have to understand when you're in public office, you are expected to behave in a certain way. You respect the office. Because I remember during the peace process, when Fode Sanko came, the late Ramadan Doumbouya, they invited him to parliament. He told them he was not going. So they called me because I worked well with him. So I went to see him. I said, it's not about the people who are there, it's the institution of parliament. If you are saying you fought for democracy and you're coming here, parliament cannot summon you and say you're not going. What happens if the ROF is the majority in parliament? If the RF call an APC, they doesn't go, how do you feel? He didn't understand. So I said, it's not about the people who are there in parliament, it's the institution. And I was able to convince him, and then he said to me, oh, Naimeka, I want to make you be advisor. I said, no, mix me up. Oh. But I was able to convince him to go to parliament. And I said to him, you have to understand, these people who are sitting there have been affected by the war in a way you will not understand. Elizabeth Lavalley, her husband was killed, Alva Lavalley. The RAF killed him because he was a Kamajo. I said, so they have a lot of pain and bitterness. So when you go and sit in front of them, you have to understand they are very angry. So you have to be careful the way you talk to them because the war has affected them. So I sat down, educated him. This man didn't understand. Parliament is so the people. So that's why. So when we talk about government, we just say, no, everybody has a responsibility. When you are put in a position of authority, you have to defend the authority of that office. You understand? In that position, it's not you. Don't bring the position down. Begin to dance in a street and jump. No. I would love to wear a miniskirt. I can't. I would love to go to clubs or restaurants. I can't go to every restaurant in Nairobi. I can't go to certain places. Not that I don't want to go, but my position will not allow me. So these are all the things we have to think about. So we respect position, authority. We know that we have a responsibility. This is what the society expects from us. This is what we need to do. And then we set the stage for younger people. So you see, you admire. You say, I want to be like that person because they carry themselves with dignity. Because people who are in position, and then we learn certain value. Sierra Leoneans, you start an event at 7 o'clock, they don't get there until 11. Not the Japanese. 5 minutes, Japanese is late. That's why they are before. The same thing like the Chinese. That's why I said, I don't want to be an African. I'm sorry. If you ask the staff who are working my son, I told them, I said, you see me, I'm black. I said, boss, I don't behave like a black man. You understand? If they tell you it's 9 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock. Because there are only 24 hours in a day. It's the hours that the one were effective. Why do we supposed to start an event at, say, at 9, it starts at 11? You waste 2 hours of my time. That 2 hours, if I'm writing something, I've gone 5. If I'm thinking something, so there are some attitude we have to start thinking, why are we left behind? People go for meetings, they don't write reports. You invite me for a meeting, I'm asking myself, I don't participate in meetings anymore. If I'm not delivering, I don't go. Why am I going? I don't go to conferences anymore. Why should I go? To go and listen to other people talk? I've passed that age where I'm learning from people, So it's a lot we can do.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. And I tell you, Sierra Leoneans are one of the smartest people I have encountered. I deal with them on a daily basis. They are smart. And there are lots of people who want the best for Sierra Leone. I come across them around the world.
So what would be your message to young Sierra Leoneans? Because as you said, there's a whole generation of people like you who are, outgoing, nothing much left to do but to advise and guide those who are now coming forward for leadership. We have a lot of young people who are interested in leading Sierra Leone. So what would be your advice or your message to young Sierra Leoneans?
I tell people to be presidents is like to be the coach of a football team. A coach is not always a football player, but he knows who to put in the right place. One of the things we have to start doing is making sure we put right people in the right position. To be able to do that, it presupposes you yourself, you Minister of Education, you know what the education ministry is about. What do they need to achieve? What do you believe? What are the challenges that the Ministry of Education faces or the Ministry of Health? How do you want these challenges as a leader to be handled? You put your time frame. So you have your people, you put somebody who can do it. You don't put people because you know them. If you do that like a football match, you will lose the game. If you put a man who for the midfield, you put him back, he'll kick the ball to himself. You know what I mean? So when we're looking for leaders, we have to look for people who can who understands what are the problems. This is why I said, and when I said in Lama, as you see people start dancing, you start thinking. Let people who understand what are the problems of the country. Not so anybody who don't eat cassava leaf, he better food sleep, he wake up and say, I want to be president. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing like the conductor of an orchestra. He doesn't play all the instruments, but when he stands in front of, he knows which instrument the sound is not coming out. He stops the orchestra. He tells the person, play. Then he knows the person is playing out of tune. Then he corrects him. So whoever runs a country first need to understand the country, need to understand the problems of the country, need to identify the solutions, and need to be able to identify the right people to address those solutions. Then we can gauge them. People talk, oh, they book man, they don't disappoint we. But in my language, they said it's better a madman sends you to do something. Because then you will not take what he's told you because you know he's mad. But you go and do the right thing. But the worst thing you can do is to send a madman to do something. He will not do it. Whether we like it or not, being president is not a child's play. It's running a country. The future of 8 million Sierra Leoneans is in your hands. You have to understand them. You have to know what the problems are. You have to identify the solution. And you have to get a team that will get you done. You alone in your position cannot do it. You cannot. But you need to supervise them adequately. Sentiments no dede. Because if a doctor makes a mistake, maybe one woman get twins will die. If a judge makes a mistake, maybe one person will be executed. But when a politician makes a mistake, generations yet unborn will suffer. Because that health facility will then for bail. If they're not bail, I know many people that suffer in our village, that water well will then for bail. If they're not bail, I know most people go die with cholera. That hospital, that school, by not providing schools there, generation of children that will grow up illiterate. So the most important person in our life is the politician. We don't think about that. We think anybody can be a politician. No. And that's what we have done, and this country has been damaged, destroyed. We have to go back to doing quality people that understands the problem, understands the issue, articulates them. And some people that don't meet you in a politician, APC, I say, they be president, no fit. I tell them. Not so everybody don't bear food, kasada live, don't sleep na net or fufu wake na morning, things have to be president. No, you look at yourself. Ask yourself, what can you do? What is your ability? So we have to move from that. Yeah. I hope everyday Sierra Leoneans can make that decision. We are in a crossroad. The bend, when we'll get a time when we cannot go over, like they're talking about climate change. Yeah. You read the 1.50, the world is sinking below it. We've missed a lot of golden opportunities. And the world is in a difficult position now. The help that we're having is not going to come forth. It's going to be a difficult time. But we have to dig deep inwards. How can we as Sierra Leonean fight to get? We don't need help. We can feed ourselves. We can generate enough revenue in our country to pay our children's education, to build facility. But we have to go inside ourselves and say we want to do it. This is the challenge I get to every... Now, America don't ban me. I have a diplomatic passport. I have a diplomatic visa. I can go. But when I come back home, I can't go. Sooner or later, everybody will ban. So we chop ourselves here. So that's why we can do it. This is why I'm saying to Sierra Leoneans, we can do it. And we must do it. Failure is not an option. We cannot afford to fail. So I leave it to all Sierra Leoneans. Let's come together as a country. Let's stop blaming people. When Ebola came, Kailau, it ended up here. When the civil war came from Kailau, it ended up here. So don't think the problem in Kailau is not related to you. The problem in Puja is not related to Kwenadogo. We are all Sierra Leoneans under the one green, white, and blue flag. We'll be affected. Me, everywhere I go, nobody sees me as a Timney. They see me as a Sierra Leonean because it's Sierra Leonean passports I have. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. So if they don't do the right thing, all of us will be affected. Yeah. Let's come together and build a Sierra Leone that we all will be proud of. And we can do it. I have no doubt about it.
I
We
have
can
no
do
doubts
it.
as well. I know that we can do it. We have everything that it takes. We have brilliant people, we have the natural resources. It's about us and deciding that this is the goal and working towards that goal. So, thank you so much for speaking very honestly today and for your
It's my
time.
job. It's my job. I have a responsibility. I owe it to Sierra Leone.
That's it for today's episode of Honestly Speaking. Thank you for listening and being a part of these important conversations. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, please like and share. And if you're feeling inspired, do leave a review. I'd love to hear what you think. And of course, carry on the conversation online. Share your thoughts, experiences, and ideas using hashtag HonestlySpeakingSL. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay honest.